Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking podcast.
You kids with your loud music and your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima, hula hoops, and Pac-Man video games, don't you see? People today have attention spans that can only be measured in nanoseconds.
See, son, old legends never die. They just lose weight.
Like a legend and an outerworld bum with a lot of light.
Hello, you crazy dick fucker!
Party time!
Yes, it is party time. Hello, Hollywood. Hello, world. And hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seen. I am Izzy Presley, and I am hosting an... let's do this Dan Barrero style. What the hell happened to him now, leader? And of course, that has nothing to do with my esteemed guest or esteemed co-host. That is because Izzy fell over running for a burrito, and now he cannot lift his right arm higher than 25%. So that's what happened to me. I'm all right, though. I'm all right. The beautiful mug did
that must have destroyed your sex life.
Actually, Paul, ironically, I am so good that I can switch hands and gain a stroke. So I'm good. I'm good. The only thing I was worried about was being able to wipe my ass, and I am able to do that. So everything is fine.
Yeah,
everything's good.
I was so happy to call myself your friend when I got that text message going, I'm going to have to try to wipe lefty. And I'm like, God damn, how do I get off this text chain?
Oh my God. Our guest, Riki Rachtman, is very excited about this conversation. She's like, what the fuck?
Every interview I've done this month started the exact same way. I'm like, are we talking about ass wiping again? Didn't I just do something like on CNN about ice wiping?
Make sure you guys follow the show at Another Effing Podcast. And of course, I am Izzy Presley at Real Izzy Presley all the way across the board. And you can get the birthday boy also at Paul Gargano and at Metal Edge Magazine on the Instagram as well. And our esteemed guest. Yes, we are going to be hanging out this weekend. I'm going to be hosting a show that he is in on Friday night. We're going to be hanging out at the ROCKNPOD, Mr. Riki Rachtman. Hello, sir.
What are you hosting Friday night?
I'm hosting Rare Hair.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what we're doing?
No, Tyson didn't send me that shit yet. He just said, all right, you're hosting again. I'm like, all right, cool.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of people know that I played in a bunch of bands and I sang in a bunch of bands, a lot of punk rock bands, but I was also in a band in the 80s called Virgin and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't know that I have been playing bass now for a total of 6 days.
Nice.
So I'm going to be playing bass and singing, which my singing is maybe on a 1 to 10, maybe a 5. My bass playing is like 4. Add them up together, it's still not 9. But then also I'm going to be doing a duet with Leah Vendetta.
Nice.
So we're all, to be honest, we're practicing and we're a little bit nervous. I'm definitely the weakest link, but we're going to be doing our like kind of debut Friday. And in my band is going to be me and Ace Von Johnson, of course, and Tony Higbee. Abby Kay is going to play bass on a song, and Leah and Tyson. And we're really, really excited because this is, really excited. I ain't going to lie. Really, really nervous.
When's the last time you played on stage? I know you did it at the bowling alley out here. Did you play or did you sing?
Me and Ace did some songs in Massachusetts a couple years ago in front of probably about a couple thousand people. And we just did some punk rock songs like we always do.
Yeah.
The last time I've done any of my original songs has got to be decades. But I've played songs with Ace probably in the past. I don't know. You know how things are these days. It's like I could say it was 4 months ago, but it was actually 2.5 years ago. It's like it's not just the age thing. It's the way COVID thing. It's like, a whole year was missed. So I haven't played on stage, I would definitely say for several years.
I was just told, I was talking to somebody, producer, John Travis. I don't know if you remember John. And he was telling me, I told him you were going to be the guest this week, and he was talking about seeing you perform at the Limelight in New York. with Maurer from Social Distortion.
He was in my
bass
band.
with you. Yeah, he was like, must have been amazing. I said that must have been amazing seeing back then.
To be honest with you, I don't know what he said, but of all the shows that Battery Club played, that one was one of my favorite shows because we had played L'Amour's in Brooklyn the night before. And honestly, like in between songs, you'd hear like a bartender moving a glass. There was nobody there. Nobody. And then the very next night, we played Limelight, and it was just packed. It was so packed. And you know, we were a band that nobody ever heard. I never tried to tell people that it was like Riki Rachtman from Headbangers Ball, because our band was made up of like John Maurer from Social Distortion, guys from the Adolescents, from DI. You know, it was all these guys from punk rock bands. And to say like the Headbangers Ball guy, you know, everybody's like, when are you going to play something from Dawkins? I'm like, no, here's something from Agent Orange, you know? And it was really, really fun. And I really enjoyed playing. And the few times that I've got, actually not that few, the few times that I've gotten on stage and played with Ace is great because despite Ace being younger than me, our roots come from the same types of music. And that's how we really hit it off. Before he was just like, oh, the new guitarist with Tammy. But then, you know, we talk about punk rock bands that we both love, and we both love the same kind of music. And I've always enjoyed playing on stage with him.
You know,
Tammy's guitar players just keep getting younger and younger. Pretty soon he's going to have like a 12-year-old playing guitar for him.
Right. Right. His new guitarist hasn't even been born yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's an embryo.
Sam Bam embryo. You know, Ricky, it's funny because, you know, I had Tim from Junkyard on a couple weeks ago before their show out here.
I was supposed to play. He actually wrote, it sounds like everybody you're saying sounds like, God, he's got his hands on all the music. You're only mentioning the only people I've ever worked with. Tim wrote some music that I was supposed to write some lyrics to. And the band was supposed to be Ace Von Johnson and Tim. And,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was weird how this all comes around to all these bands. And I think we might've talked about this, you know, on a previous episode, but all the East Side bands, you know, the Junkyard and the Faster and, you know, and GNR and all those guys, and it's ironic how you guys all rolled in the same freaking, you know, same
East Side of what?
It wasn't East Hollywood. It wasn't the East Punk side, the East Hollywood.
Hell no.
Oh, God damn it.
East Hollywood. Junkyard, I would say part of East Hollywood, I guess, with playing like the Raji's and stuff. But I mean, Cathouse was in West Hollywood,
right? But that wasn't considered a punk club. I was just saying with all the punk side of the things. That's right. That's what I got is like the punk people more hung out on the East Side.
Well, no, because I mean, in the early days, we had, you know, gigs at the Starwood and then the Whiskey, but you had, you know, Raji's and Godzillas and Madame Wong's and Hong Kong Cafe. And yeah, those would be in the east part of LA. But I mean, when I was there, I was talking like, you know, I was like 15. I in these clubs. Yeah. But no, we didn't know, like, hey guys, let's get all our East Side.
That's not what I meant.
The East Side.
Christ.
East Side.
Christ. Now I feel like a complete fucking retard. Is that okay, Mom?
So your experience.
I was just waiting. I was
curious. I'm like, I'm an East Coaster. Like, what's the East Side of LA? Like, I was trying to figure that out myself.
What the fuck?
I do know what you mean. You mean more that like Silver Lakey down that direction. I know.
Yeah, we were not Silver Lake. I mean, me and Tammy lived on Hollywood Boulevard, which is right in Hollywood, and I wouldn't even know what East Hollywood, nor would I know what South Hollywood is. I know where North Hollywood is, and that's about. What is you're just making unless they change
it's like South Detroit in the Journey song. It doesn't really exist. It just went well lyrically. There's no South Detroit. I think South Detroit is Canada or something like that. Something like that.
I don't know. Well, these guys have been lying to me then.
Are all three of us wearing Faster shirts?
I think so.
No.
Is that Tammy?
No, that's not Tammy. Tammy got really hot if that's Tammy.
That's not Tammy. Okay.
It's my all new Leah Vendetta Tammy shirt.
There you go.
Oh my
I
God!
hope she
I'll let
didn't
the
hear
two
what
guys,
you
the
just
two old
said.
guys, can heckle me on that one.
Wow. Yeah, this is Tammy back in his East Hollywood days.
That was
So-
pre-op Tammy.
Pre-op Tammy. So Ricky, we are going to be doing this rock and roll podcast thing. You've been on a break with the podcast, right? There hasn't been a new Cathouse Hollywood in a long time.
No,
As
there
well
hasn't
as
been
the
a new
Triple R.
Cathouse Hollywood podcast. What I did was, and the Cathouse Hollywood podcast did really, really well. When I started releasing them, I had 6 of them in the top 10 on iTunes, which I didn't even know that was good, but it was like real, like we were in the regular mainstream charts. And then I did the Triple R, and the Triple R was a lot of fun. And I stopped doing it because I wanted to do that show called The Ball, which I launched on the Gimme Metal app, which was my version of the Headbangers Ball that did really well overseas. And if you took all the money from the podcast and the ball, you wouldn't even have been able to buy this shirt. But I am going to do I'm doing the Triple R. I might even record one tonight. Put it this way. I know that the ROCKNPOD is this weekend. I hope to have a new Cathouse Hollywood podcast and a couple new Triple R podcasts out before I get to ROCKNPOD. And the interview that I have for the next Cathouse Hollywood podcast is the new interview with Dave Mustaine, with me and Dave, that sets everything straight. I mean, we don't talk about Dave Ellefson.
Right.
And he talks a lot about cancer, but also talks about the feud that Dave Mustaine and I had. And the Triple R, we're going to be putting out some new Triple Rs, I mean, like within the next days. And I really like doing that show. That show is a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I know you. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I was just going to ask, you said feud with Dave Mustaine. What was your feud with Dave Mustaine? Did he have a feud with anybody that had anything to do with metal at any given point in time?
Well, the whole time that we were on MTV, there was this Dave Mustaine hates Riki Rachtman. And it was like everybody, because Dave Mustaine always gave me a hard time. But people, how do I say this nicely? People are fucking stupid, okay?
Well,
and they see, like, people would watch MTV and go, oh man, Glenn Danzig tried to kill Ricky and throw him in the fire. It's like, really? Well, then how come Glenn is playing at Ricky's birthday party? It's like,
yeah.
like the way the three of us are, we love giving each other a hard time. That's what you do with people that you like, Yeah. And Dave Mustaine was a little bit more ruthless about it. But what Dave says in the podcast that you'll hear soon is the reason that he was very hard on me. And I know this sounds weird, and I'd kind of rather save it for the podcast, but he wanted to give me a hard time because he wanted me to succeed. And I know that doesn't, for people that saw what Dave Mustaine and I did, he was always giving me a hard time. And sometimes he took it a little bit too far. But the truth of the matter is, I have never been the type of person, for better or for worse, that does interviews. And if I think that 30 years after MTV, somebody's going to say, dude, Dave Mustaine hated you. Well, nobody ever goes up and goes, that was a great interview with Lars. They always say, dude, Dave Mustaine hates you. And even Dave Mustaine said to me, we were like the Abbott and Costello of MTV, because he gave me a hard time. And I took it because the truth is, people really enjoyed it. People love to hate me. So if they see one of their rock icons busting balls on Riki Rachtman and they wish they could do that to me, they love it. And in the long run, people remember that stuff. There's a couple Headbangers Ball episodes that everybody remembers. And in none of those times did I ever say, tell me, who is your producer on this album? What's
right.
Rat's ass about that stuff.
Yeah. Well, so you were saving those questions for when you got into podcasting later.
The what?
Who's your producer on that album? I was making it.
I've never asked a question like
know.
that. Thanks for listening to my podcast.
It was a joke.
Thanks, Izzy.
God damn.
Izzy.
It's funny you talk about busting balls. It's almost like when they take it too far, it's almost like a drill sergeant thing. They're breaking you down to help you get up.
Well, it was nice for him to tell me that 35 years later.
Yeah, right. After you're manic. Yeah.
It's like, after that, it's like, but the thing is, when I did Headbangers Ball, if I truly didn't want to have Dave Mustaine on Headbangers Ball, and I said to MTV, can we not have Megadeth on? Then they probably, I don't know, they might have listened to me. But the truth is, if I know that Dave Mustaine, and first of all, I love Megadeth, I love Megadeth.
Yeah.
So if Dave Mustaine's going to give me a hard time and people are going to enjoy it, well, then that's okay. You know, I don't need to be the authority. I don't mind being the butt end of the joke. And that's what I think a lot of musicians always knew, that they could give Riki a hard time. And I always took it because I didn't mind. If there was somebody that gave me a hard time that I thought took it too far, it would have escalated into something else.
Right.
And that's happened before too. But you know, it was all in good fun. And like, you know, we mess around with people. I like, you know, if Biohazard's going to throw cake in my face, that's okay, because we're friends. And that stuff is, you know, that's the reason, you know, that, you know, people can say all they want and hate on me for this on the Headbangers Ball, but you're still remembering me 30 years later. So, well, I did something right. And
do you think the ego, because I know you always talk about you did have an ego back then. Do you think the ego that you had could have handled social media, so handled the internet and handled the response on the internet?
You know what? That's a really good question, Izzy.
Thank you.
Good job, Izzy.
You pat myself on the back with the good hand.
3 steps forward. You just took 1 step. No, 3 steps back. You just took 1 step forward.
Here's the deal. And a lot of people know this. I don't publicize it, but it's common knowledge that, you know, whether it's my sobriety or drugs or depression or stuff like that, I had, especially back then, I remember I had an office in Hollywood, and I owned the Cathouse, which was doing shows in 5 states. I owned Bordello. I was hosting Loveline. I was on Headbangers Ball. And I remember sitting in my office in Hollywood on Sunset and saying, I am so miserable. And I was always depressed. And the thing is, you know, as we all know, especially in this business, if 10 people tell you you're doing a really good job and one person says you suck, you tend to acknowledge that person and let that person be the one that facilitates how your mood is. And I was very, very guilty of that. And for years, you know, somebody would go up and say like, dude, I loved Headbangers Ball. I loved Headbangers Ball. And my head was saying, when I walk around, he's going to say, you suck, you know, and stuff like that. So I don't know. I really had hard times dealing with it. And sometimes I still do. But I mean, I look at where my life is right now, and it's like people can talk as much crap as they want, because I got to be honest with you, I'm living a really awesome life right now. And I really am. I've got so much my love life is great. I've got a great house. I've got great cars. I live on the lake with a boat. I mean, I'm doing okay. And I'm old as hell. But back then, if there was social media, and as we all know, if somebody thinks you're doing a great job, they'll go, yeah, he's doing a great job. But if somebody goes, he sucks, they're going to tell you about it. And here's the thing. As the host of Headbangers Ball, there's no doubt about it. Riki Rachtman, had the greatest job in the world. The number one greatest job in the world. I did no show prep, obviously. I didn't produce it. I didn't book guests. I sat here doing my clubs and radio, and they said, okay, Riki, you're going to go to Japan and hang with Michael Monroe. Oh, 3 weeks later, you got to go to Germany and hang with Danzig. Okay. Then we're going to put you back in England with Queensryche. I'm like, okay. And I did no show prep whatsoever, which really shows in the early episodes. I can't watch the early episodes of Headbangers Ball because I cringe watching them, because, you know, the one thing that really I feel separated me from everybody else is my first time ever doing anything in broadcasting was my first episode on Headbangers Ball. I didn't go to school to be a journalist or a radio guy or anything. I was that drunk guy that had the Cathouse because all my friends were rock stars and I wanted to be a rock star. And somehow I got people to hang out at the Cathouse. So I was brand new to TV. So if somebody says you suck, I'm like, oh, maybe I suck. Oh, they're going to find out about me that I'm not a professional. And I think if social media was around then, I don't know if I would have been, how I would have, I mean, I would have had to have handled it, but I think it would have affected me a lot more because I was very vulnerable. And I was just starting out in the business. So I didn't know. I mean, I really didn't think that I didn't know where I'd be at my age, but I didn't think that I'd be where I am right now, you know? So whatever I did worked. I had some really, really, really tough years,
Right.
But I don't know if I would have been able to handle. I think I would have been too. I don't want to say fragile because I don't think of myself as fragile, but sometimes that stuff sucks. Sometimes, it sucks when, I recently made a post, and it's something that I don't talk about. I'm not a sober preacher. All my friends drink, but I've been sober 33 years. I was a meth head. I dealt drugs, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I just put it out there. And the only reason I put it out there that one time is because maybe somebody will see like, oh my God, Riki Rachtman's doing all this crazy shit and he's sober. You can do it. That's the only reason I put it. I don't want accolades. I said, don't thank me. And somebody wrote, oh, it's so funny how you do this just to get attention. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, why did you comment? I mean, on social media, I don't care if you're a hater, if you're positive, everybody's just trying to get attention. That's all we're all doing.
Exactly.
Everything you post is because you want to get attention. And if I say something like, everybody save the orcas, SeaWorld sucks, it's because I want to get attention to something that bugs me. Or if I say I'm having a really hard time, sometimes we want to voice the way we feel on something. And sometimes I let my personal stuff out on social media. Lately, I don't that much. And what I don't do on social media is I don't brag. I don't say about all the great stuff that's happening because that's nobody's business. And that looks stupid, Yeah. But so answer to your question, I made it really long answer. Yeah, I think it would have been really tough for me.
Well, let me expand on that. Do you think, after you did lose it all, do you think it would have been harder to take that job selling cars?
For people that don't know, I lost everything because basically what happened is I had a talk radio. I told Leah today, I go, look, when I do Izzy's show, every question he asks me, I'm going to answer wrong. I thought every question was going to be like, how did you get the job on MTV? And I've been answering those questions. I said, I'm going to make everything up, but these are actually questions that I don't want to make up. For people that don't know, I had a very successful talk radio career in Los Angeles. I was doing afternoon drive, Howard in the morning, Riki Rachtman radio in the afternoon. And my depression got to me, and a DJ said something about me, and I went to the radio station and beat the hell out of him and went to jail and lost absolutely everything and ended up getting a job as a car salesman. So then there was a DJ named Tom Likas, who I know you shouldn't say anything mean about because I think he got throat cancer or something, but the guy's a douche. And he went on the air making fun of me because I'm a car salesman. Now, this is the one thing that I don't know if this answers your question, but this is something that's really important. I've been blessed with the greatest jobs in the world. Okay. But somebody would say, oh, a has-been because he used to do this. He used to do this. Says the guy that's had the same freaking 9-to-5 job for 30 years. It's like, look, if I have a 9-to-5, if I work in a lumber yard, okay, I'm just like everybody else. If I get a job as a car salesman, I'm just like everybody else. So why the hell would we ever mock somebody that was very successful, but then had to go back down to do what everybody else does? Because you're making fun of somebody that's doing what you do, yet he had the greatness and you didn't even have the greatness, and you're making fun of him. There's a lot of people that have 9-to-5 jobs with benefits and all this stuff. And part of that is very admirable because, I've had a great 15 years. I don't know what I'm going to do in 2 years. There's not a lot of, I don't know, I mean, my window of opportunity, I'm like this, holding it open. I'm underneath it. I'm 1501 on 15 minutes of fame, and I'm keep on pushing open by trying to reinvent myself or doing something else. But if I have to go back to something else, then I just do it. You just have to. We all have to do stuff. I have friends that I have a very good friend that is a garbage man. I mean, this is the honest to God truth. Yeah. And he is no different than a friend of mine that plays in a band. It's like, I don't know. I don't think I answered your question at all, did I?
No, you kind of did. I think part of it too. I mean, just because I went through this thing, I went through something very similar with Metal Edge, and everybody looks at you and goes, "Oh my God, what happened?" Well, nothing happened. Time moved on, and I didn't want to be there anymore. That's what happened. And fighting with the owner of the magazine didn't mean as much to me as actually doing what I did meant to me anymore. And you just get to a point where you're like, it's time to make that next step, you know? And I think for most people, I still get, no matter every time I show up somewhere, someone's going to make a comment about, I was the poser with the Mark McGrath haircut that was like, you know, doing what you should have been doing on VH1 or MTV or whatever. Somebody's going to make a comment about, you know, the fact that the one time I put Goo Goo Dolls in Metal Edge, you know what I mean? It's like, it's bitterness, it's jealousy. And you just got to I think part of what makes us successful is being able to bounce back from that and go, you know what, we're happy with who we are and we're not mocking everybody else for what they do.
It's funny. I've had conversations with Dee Snider, who I feel is one of the few people that feels the same way I do. I mean, I like new music. I listen to, before I did the ball on Gimme Metal, I hosted something called Mudbangers Ball with Code Orange. I was working with Code Orange. And if I'm going to go see Municipal Waste, or I'm going to see Turnstile, or I'm going to see Havoc, or I'm going to see any of these, you know, somewhat newer bands, it's because I like them. And it doesn't mean there's something bad about the old stuff, because I love the old stuff too. But there's something, Dee Snider, you know, comes out with a new record that's heavy and has, you know, the guy from Cannibal Corpse in it. And while some people would criticize him, I'm like, no, it's like, for people that think rock is dead or that Nirvana killed rock, I mean, that's something that Nirvana killed rock and roll. Really? Then if any scene killed your music is weak. Because when I picked up Kill 'Em All, I didn't really care about the scene. I knew this album was great. And if it sold 100 records, I'd love it. Or if it sold 1 million records, I love it. You know, nothing is going to stop me from listening to an old record. And if a certain Motorhead record didn't sell great, and because something Beyonce sold more, that doesn't mean that Motorhead record isn't still a great rock and roll record. You know, I mean, people are stupid. You know, you see those things like that meme that says, like, you know, metal fans are the most accepting fans of it. It's like, that's the biggest bunch of bull I have ever heard.
Oh, it is.
Metal fans are so, like, if you like a different type of genre, you know, and I'll never forget. I've said this story so many times that I'm sure he hates me saying it, but I'll never forget when Skid Row opened up for Guns N' Roses, and I was standing next, and Kerry King was standing next to me, and we were watching Skid Row play Slave to the Grind. And Kerry's like, that is freaking heavy, because it was such, and he battled on a game, and it was such a good song. And there's people that don't want to cross genres. Now it's a little bit different, because now, you know, when I first started hanging out with the guys about 10 years ago with the guys from Lamb of God, and they were telling me all like Faster Pussycat, they love this. I thought they were mocking me. And I didn't believe that some of the bands in that really, really heavy genre really like music from what I selfishly call the Cathouse era. But the truth is they do. And there's a lot of people, and, you know, I've hung out with some of the people of the heaviest, most brutal bands, and people don't know that they're not listening to the heaviest and most brutal bands all the time. You know, Mark Morton from Lamb of God loves to listen to the Beatles, you know, and hip hop. Yeah. So music is like, you know, to say that heavy metal fans are so open to everything, they're really, really not. And it's sad, because I love all kinds of music. And, you know, if I go wear a t-shirt of a new band, people will say like, okay, here's the two things I get. This is beautiful. Riki Rachtman, why don't you get over it? Don't you know the 80s and 90s are over? Hey, Riki Rachtman, why are you wearing that new band to jump on a new bandwagon? It's like, dude, make up your mind. What am I? Am I trying to jump on a bandwagon, or am I trying to let this scene die? It's like, you know, it's like, I'm happy.
And that's all that matters. Really quick, before we take a short 2-minute break, what kind of cars were you selling?
Well, I started off selling Volkswagens. So here's how my day would go. Are you Riki Rachtman from Headbangers Ball? Yes. Let me show you this Jetta. And that was really, really hard to work in the car business. They call it bell to bell, when you work from like 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. It was really hard working so many hours and never getting any money and having to go there in a shirt and tie, blowing up balloons. When the year before I was making 6 figures on the radio.
Yeah.
And then from that, I went to BMW in North Hollywood, which is nowhere by East Hollywood.
Yeah, it's right by Ernie's. It's right by Ernie's Tacos, which I haven't.
Yeah, I saw BMWs there for a short time. Wasn't very good at it.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked is I used to sell Saturns, and I was just wondering if maybe you sold Ron Jeremy that Saturn that he drove into.
Got a better story than that. I lived in Huntington Beach. Saturn wouldn't hire me.
Wow.
Saturn wouldn't hire me.
Impressive.
I fill out my application, and when you say your prior job and your list is like 4 things, and your prior job is how you made about $250,000 in the prior year, and now you're willing to start selling cars and doing this because I lost. I mean, when I say, like MC Hammer talked about being bankrupt but still in a pool, it's like I was in a house with the air condition, the heater getting turned down, freezing. I lost everything.
Wow.
So, you know, to be able to be where I am right now is like, you know, do you really think that I care that this guy says you sucked when you interviewed Alice in Chains?
But yet he still remembers the Alice in Chains interview.
It's like,
right.
Really, that's what you're talking about. You're doing what? And I've got like, I mean, now I'm at a point that like, if I could just keep it going where I am now, I'd be pretty happy. But the way I am, my personality is, I always want more. I want to do this. I want to do that. And when you get older, it's a little bit harder. And we live in a weird time right now because, you know, certain bands are having their, what band? I don't remember. One band that's a great band that I love is just having its 40th anniversary. And I remember that if you were at Cathouse and there was a band that was 40 years old, we're talking not Elvis, we're talking like Billie Holiday.
Yeah, that's right.
Like old crooners for 40 years ago. So to talk about like a Slayer or a Bad Religion being around 40 years or Motley Crue, you know, it's like 40 years ago from when the Cathouse was open was still 15 years before Bill Haley played Rock Around the Clock. Yeah. You know, so it's just kind of weird.
That's crazy.
It's weird now.
Speaking of 40 years, we will get into that after the break. And this is going to be great because we got the VH1 side and the MTV side to talk about the 40th anniversary of the MTV. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. This is Metal Edge Magazine's Another Fucking Podcast.
Vinny Tortorich here. Hey man, if you're a fan of Izzy, you might be a fan of me too. I'm the guy that gets people to lose a lot of weight. I have something free for you guys. This is no clickbait. Just go to VinnyTortorich.com and there's a big banner. It's a free PDF, how to lose weight. It's an intro guide to NSNG at VinnyTortorich.com. Go check it out exclusively for anyone who listens to Izzy Presley. Thank you.
RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out RockstarLeatherworks.com.
Hey ladies, Sass Pants Designs will take that band shirt that everyone has and make it your own in a flattering, sassy, and simple way. There are one-of-a-kind tank tops, halter tops, lace-up tees, and tube-top dresses already in stock. Check out the online store at sasspantsrocks.com and like Sass Pants Designs on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for special offers and custom orders. Use the code IZZY25 for 25% off of your entire order at sasspantsrocks.com. That's sasspantsrocks.com. Let Sass Pants make you the envy of the party.
Rockwood Saloon Authentic Apparel takes rock and roll fashion to a new level with their tees and tanks for men and women. They also make custom shirts, jackets, vests, pants, hoodies, beanies, and more. The Rockwood Graphics Department can design anything from your logo, t-shirt design, promo posters, band swag, and printed at great prices. From tour shirts and custom stage gear to killer threads for the street to the stage, Rockwood Saloon has it all. Rockwood Saloon, authentic rock and roll apparel for stage and street. World tour tested for quality, comfort, style, and durability. Check them out at www.rockwoodsaloon.com. That's rockwoodsaloon.com.
A reading from the Gospel of Faster Pussycat. Verse, Cathouse. Let's go to the house where business is a pleasure. Perversion is an aversion that don't go away. I'm a hard act to swallow. And she's my buried treasure. It'll be a long, long time before I'm on my way. Praise be to Faster Pussycat.
So I guess I've been informed over the break that we're just stealing a Riki Rachtman bit by doing that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
How's that a collective we? That bit was your idea, not mine.
Is there any way I can share it? I'm going to send it to you. The Reverend Riki that we did. And I was in a Reverend outfit and in a church with stained glass. And I would be like, what were the lyrics? And it was like it would start because I would just produce everything myself. And then the voice of God would say, Riki, enough with the echo. Because there was this bad echo that people would complain about. And I would do like, respect, walk. Are you talking to me? And it was sort of like that. But then I get in arguments occasionally with God, which was the voice of
nice.
Johnson.
Nice. Well, okay, so it is a little bit different then.
Yeah, mine was good.
Thank you.
I didn't mean yours was it? No.
That was good.
That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah, the junkyard one last week was a couple weeks ago was fucking gold.
Oh, I'm sure that one was really good.
I mean, it actually started, and I think the first one was Kiss, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we absurd Kiss lyrics.
Yeah, that's how it began.
And it started out just as like the cheesiest Kiss lyrics. Speaking of haters, excuse me for 1 minute. 80s Kiss sucks. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Go fuck yourself.
Did you see the video I just posted on my social media of me interviewing Gene and Paul, asking them to put their makeup on and do just a couple stadium shows, and they would tell me why that didn't make any sense?
No, I did not see that.
Look for that.
Yeah, I just posted it today, I think, on my Twitter.
So that what year was that? Was that like 93 probably for
my dog's freaking out. It was right before they did the tour. It was when I think of things, I think about what my hair was like in that year. So I think it might have been 92 or 3.
Okay, so it would have been
right. I had long hair, so it was 92. So it was probably 92.
Revenge.
When they first started touring again, and they kicked off the tour in Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah, if it was 92 or 93, it was Revenge.
I don't remember.
So it would have been the tour right before they put the makeup back on.
I don't know.
It would have been.
I'm not a big Kiss expert.
But I mean, one of the reasons I did want to have you on is because, well, everybody but MTV is celebrating the 40th anniversary of MTV.
I posted on Twitter. I said something about like, it's MTV's 40th anniversary to celebrate with 40 hours of ridiculousness or something like that. But I said, some stuff about MTV, and even Alan Hunter, one of the original VJs, commented and said like, amen. It's like, look, when I hear the word VJs, I've never thought of myself as a VJ, even though I guess I was. I think about the original 5 and then all those other VJs. And the truth is, we all have a bone to pick with MTV. But let's be honest for a second. MTV, more than anything else, changed a generation, changed the world, made such an impact. And for them not to even acknowledge it diminishes all the good. Look, I get it. The reason they're not putting on shows is more people want to watch, my, teenage tranny pregnant handicapped child or something like that. And they would rather watch that than watch any music. I'd probably watch that actually, but but to not even acknowledge.
Izzy's already trying to get a date with that.
To not acknowledge Mark Goodman and Alan Hunter and Julie and Martha and those. And I'm not even saying it for selfish reasons, like, hey, give me some love. It's not even that. It's just like, I remember those, the first video I saw on MTV. And I remember going to my friend's house to watch MTV. And when you could finally afford a house with cable, that you put on MTV and you just left it on all day. MTV was a fish aquarium. It was at your house all the time. And maybe there's those fish are doing something you've never seen. And maybe you're like, oh, like those girls in Bananarama are kind of cute or whatever it is. So
kind of
you always had, it was always on and you would always watch. And to not even acknowledge it, I think is really a slap in the face to people of my generation and older. I think it's really nice that at the Rockin' Pod that we're doing a panel with Mark Goodman, Matt Pinfield, and myself. I'm excited not to hear my own voice, but like, oh, cool, like Mark Goodman, that's a VJ, that's a VJ, and I wonder how much of us feel the same way. I also happen to be the only VJ that's not on Sirius XM, but I think it'll be neat to hear their stories, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, because I'm friends with Andre from season 1 of The Real World. He was the musician guy, and I bust his balls about it all the time. Yeah. Thanks for killing fucking MTV. Good job. Good job, buddy.
Instead of thanking them, why don't you thank the millions of people that watch that show?
That would rather watch that.
If Real World was on TV and nobody watched it, they would still do it. It's like people were into it. But when I was doing Headbangers Ball, we were doing The Real World and we were doing Beavis and Butthead.
Right.
And we had a couple of shows that were really good. And I'm not going to say bad stuff about reality because, I had a huge following from being on Daisy of Love and being on Charm School and Rock. Mm-hmm. I had a good career on VH1 for those reality shows. And Daisy of Love was one of the most fun jobs I ever had. But I think for it to be a 40th anniversary, I always had thought, oh, when they do the 40th anniversary, they're going to have a party in New York and we're all going to get together and God, that'll be fun.
It'll be like a reunion, right?
Nothing at all. If it wasn't for you or Eddie Trunk or Rockin' Pod, nobody would be talking about it. And and it's not for selfish reasons. Forget about Headbangers Ball. Talk about the first 5 BJs. I think it's sad that they don't acknowledge that.
Oh, I know. I remember the first video I ever saw. It was Twisted Sister, We're Not Going to Take It. That was the first thing that was on first time I turned on MTV. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it was Tom Petty, Peter Gabriel and Tom Petty. I grew up in a relatively affluent suburb in Connecticut, and we were in the woods. We didn't have it. It wasn't a question of like not being able to afford cable. They didn't have cable where we lived. So it was like, I remember when I saw the video for One for the first time, it was Headbangers Ball. And it literally, a friend of mine taped it and it got passed around my high school. Mm-hmm. And that was how we watched videos because we didn't all have, you know what I mean? It was basically, I was getting it from you 3 weeks after you put it out there because that's how long it took somebody to remember to get to watch it and then give it to somebody else at the school. And it was like, and that was it. But
so many people, I mean, I hear it honestly all the time. So many people still have those videotapes.
I'll never forget seeing One for the first time. That was just like, because I didn't have MTV. I wasn't a guy who judged music by videos. It was different for me. And it was like, One was like, we were waiting for that one. The metalheads were waiting for that one. That was just, it was something weird. And, they used to say, when a video was played on MTV, I think it was Eddie Trunk that told me this, that he was working at a record store and nobody'd buy the record. And then when the video was on MTV, everybody went and bought it. It's like, there was so much power there. And it made such an impact on so many people's careers, myself included, obviously.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, because people videotaped it, that, I will get recognized when I go to rock shows by kids. And I'm like, I'll mostly recognized by their grandparents, but I'll get recognized by kids that say like, dude, I love Headbangers Ball. And I'm like, you're 13. It's like, oh, we watch it on YouTube or we watch it on video. That's why it was so important for me to do that show, The Ball, which was on the Gimme Metal app, because I got to pick all the videos. I got to pick all the guests. I got to do stupid bits in it in between, like the one that you guys ripped off, and all these. and I got to
ripped off. Thank you very much.
And I got to do all these things that were like, the kids, and the ball, which I kind of wish I'll probably do it again because I really liked it. But internationally, it was huge. It did so well. And we did a segment where I had all the people do shout like, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I'm watching the ball from this. And it gave me goosebumps with like, I'm so-and-so from Ireland. I'm so-and-so from Scotland. I was like, this is so cool, but, so be it.
Yeah. So be it.
No,
now I'm going to ROCKNPOD in Nashville to talk about it.
Exactly. And hang out with me.
I'm starting to feel bad I'm not going to ROCKNPOD in Nashville.
Well, where are you? Where are you?
I'm in LA. I'm LA. I was supposed to be, I expected to be at Sturgis. That was why it was just never on my radar. And then now I don't have to be at Sturgis. And now I'm like, damn it, I should go to Nashville.
Yeah, this is the one year I didn't go to Sturgis. I did go to Bike Week in Daytona, but it's like, for the amount that I ride, I'm almost to the point now that I'm kind of a little bit burned out on the big motorcycle rallies because I just like to ride. It's like, 3 weeks ago, I rode to DeCoin, Illinois, which was 600 miles in a day,
Wow.
And Sturgis is nice, but it's really nice to go up there when it's not Bike Week.
It's funny you say that because I drove back to Minnesota a couple months ago, and I stopped in Sturgis on my way back, and I loved it, but it wasn't Bike Week. It was just, I remember I was walking from my motel downtown, and I'm not stepping over homeless people. A cop drove by and waved.
Yeah, they won't be waving during Bike Week, though.
No, they will not be waving during Bike Week. I've only been there. I've only been there because I've only been with bands when I've had bands playing there, but I've only been during Bike Week. So it's got to be amazing when it's not Bike Week.
We used to have a ritual every year, and when people say, because I live in North Carolina, and people say, what do you miss about living in LA? And the thing that I miss is our rides, because every year it'd be me and Gilby and Tammy, and we'd get a bunch of people. Sometimes Sean McNabb would go, and we would just get a bunch of people, and we'd get on our bikes and ride to Sturgis. And and we would and that was just like, that's what we did. Yeah. And that was just so much fun. And the thing, probably the only thing I miss from Los Angeles is riding motorcycles with my friends, but I've got the Blue Ridge Parkway here, so that's better anyway. So that's the only thing I miss about LA, because there's nothing in LA anymore.
Yeah.
No, it's a shell of what it used to be here, and I feel like I never was here at its peak anyway. I didn't move out here till 2001, so it was. For me, it was really weird. It's like, I like it here. I have friends here and everything, but I would leave, and I always say, like, my wife's from Detroit. I'm like, I'd go to Detroit in a heartbeat if she said moving home. I'd be like, all right, let's go.
Well, I grew up in LA, so I'm driving.
Yeah, so you were there for the whole thing. Yeah.
I'm 15 years old delivering scripts on the Sunset Strip on a moped,
Yeah.
So I grew up in LA. I remember everything from being a little kid, and it was really kind of risky for me to, and a shock to move to North Carolina. But now that I did, I've been here for a while, and I'm not going to move back. And I tell everybody that is thinking about getting out of LA, just go to Nashville. Don't come to North Carolina.
You don't want them there. Yeah.
No, now that I'm here, leave us alone. This place is just beautiful.
But in a lot of ways, that's like, because you did the opposite. You grew up where everybody wanted to be. So now you're like, get me the hell out of Hollywood. This is my whole life. Now I want space. I don't want people around me.
But the thing that I found the most is what I miss about Los Angeles isn't there anymore, know? So, I even heard, I also work with a motorcycle racing series called Flat Track, and I was working Flat Track a couple of weeks ago, and Faster Pussycat was in Charlotte. So Tammy came over to the house, and it was the first, and when Tammy saw the way I'm living here, and he even said, like, you know what, maybe I'll move. Like he was the guy that would never leave LA.
Right.
you know, and now I think people are starting to realize like, this is not the way to live. You know, it really is so expensive.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy.
No, it's not. And here, and you're, I don't know when the last time you were here was, but it's going to be even more shocking to you the next time you come here, because you can't walk without tripping over homeless people.
No, I come out there. I probably was out there.
Okay.
I go out there. My
right,
family is still out there. So I go out there quite a bit. But the homeless situation is so sad because this is not the thing that we want to talk about on Izzy's show. But the situation is so sad because there is no right answer.
No, there's no
correct.
You know, you can't say, well, I mean, there is it when it comes right down to it. It's a really, really sad thing that's irritating and pisses you off. But the situation is sad, and the way everything is right now is we're all like almost like a paycheck away from being homeless. You know?
Yeah. No, absolutely, and it's. I was just in Connecticut for a couple of weeks, and people there, it was like they were asking questions. Is LA really like everything says it is on the news? And I'm like, whatever you're seeing, it's probably worse, honestly, because it's really worse. I mean, Izzy was talking the other day about being in Orange County, and he was like, holy crap, they're like, you didn't see any homeless people. But it's like, I mean, LA is just, I don't even know what it was because I was never here for that, but it's just,
I mean, what anybody ever would say, like, and I think we tell the story pretty well in the Cathouse Hollywood podcast in the earlier episodes, is whatever people think it was like back then in that heyday in our little, 30-mile zone. Actually, it's like a 4-mile zone. It didn't go as far as East Hollywood, but it was in that zone. But the truth is,
nice callback.
It really was truly magical. We did have places to go. I mean, now everybody just throws out the words Rock and Roll Ralph's. Well, we called it Rock and Roll Ralph's because that grocery store was where all the bands were all the time, by Rock and Roll Denny's, And that's where we went after the Cathouse or every show every night.
Yep.
So, all of the bands and Tammy worked at this clothing store and Slash worked at that liquor store and Steven was there. And it was just like, it was a really awesome community. And, and the thing, like I said, is what I miss isn't there anymore. So even though I'm much older now and I want to go to LA, if I want to go to LA and go see bands or go do anything, that's gone now too, because, the few times I've been to the Rainbow, even though it's fun, it's not like it was,
Right.
None of the people that work there are there anymore. And, it's like, now I go back there to see people, not the places, because there's nothing back there. The Cathouse is a furniture store and, everything. So,
yeah. Well, it's funny you talk about Rock and Roll Ralph's. And when I had Pat Fontaine from XYZ on years ago, he's like, yeah, if you wanted to meet the bands, you did not go to the shows. You went to Rock and Roll Ralph's at 2 a.m. in the spaghetti aisle because that's all we could afford.
What?
That's great.
Yeah.
Another French person.
Yes.
I was wondering what that accent was.
Yes. Hey, oui.
Well, it's not very good because my girlfriend is French. So.
Well, yeah, I didn't say it was a good accent. No. It's not like my Sebastian Bach, which is good. But
here we go. Do it.
No, I already did it. I did it for him. I did it for him before he went on the air.
Do it.
All right, Paul, if you want me to do it. All right, I'll read Tony from the chat room's comment. Dude, fucking admit it, Izzy. You only went for the Michelob Golden Light. Yes. One of the reasons I did drive home was for Michelob Golden Light. It's true. It is absolutely true. Tony also says, I think it's cool that Riki is doing Cathouse swag again, that he and Tammy are still bros. Well, you guys have always been bros.
No, not true.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was this time when Tammy and I drifted apart for several years, and it had nothing to do with him dating my ex-wife. But when I got divorced, his girlfriend was the girl I got divorced from for a while, but that didn't have anything to do with it. Was when I got divorced, that became Tammy's girlfriend.
Okay, that was back then.
Yeah. Oh, it was way a long time ago.
Yeah, way back when. Okay, yeah.
And then he was doing when he was doing the Newly Deads and he was doing all that stuff, and
okay, yeah.
And he was in this dark place, and we drifted apart. And then I remember it was me, him, and Paulie Perrette. And Paulie said to me, you know, he really misses hanging out with you. And we started to hang out again. And then we started riding together and we've ridden coast to coast together. And now, I mean, I can say this honestly, within the past 6 years, Tammy and I are much closer than when we've ever been. I love that guy. I talk to him all the time. I can't begin to tell you how proud I am that he doesn't drink, do drugs, because I have no idea how he did it. But I can't tell you how proud I am. I think his music is great.
Yeah.
If I managed Faster Pussycat, I would have them in opening slots for newer bands, because I don't feel that they're I don't like to see them with bands. No offense to these bands, because they're great bands, but I think Faster Pussycat would be better in the opening slot for Avenged Sevenfold, rather than playing with Enough's Enough and Mr. Big and you know, that like that, because I think they have that feel, and that's not slamming those bands at all.
Well,
as far as the Cathouse swag goes, the company Cathouse Hollywood, which is cathousehollywood.com, I can tell you right now, the t-shirt company, there's 2 offices with his headquarters where we sell Cathouse shirts, and I have never done as well with Cathouse apparel than I have this year. So this year I made the shirt that Izzy's wearing right now. And I said, okay, Tammy, I'm going to make this shirt and I'm going to give you half of the money. And Tammy's like, oh, he doesn't smoke anymore. He's like, okay,
fuck, okay, Bubba.
Like, okay, Bubba, just do whatever. He didn't ask to see records or anything. So then like a month later, I'm like, dude, here's a check. It was a substantial check. And then the next couple of weeks, I'm like, dude, here's another. Like I kept on giving, because he never asked to see records. I'm splitting him half the money, and he knows that it's legit. And as odd as it sounded, like in the Cathouse days, we opened as Riki and Tammy, but it became Riki Rachtman's Cathouse because I was doing all the work. He had his band, and I just felt like I don't want him to benefit in all my work, even though he had a huge part in the opening of that. I do not deny that at all. But with this, it felt good for me to give this money to Tammy, because it's sort of like, dude, I really appreciate you. And I appreciate how much you mean to me and how much your band means to me. And to make a shirt that says Faster Pussycat and Cathouse on it. And believe me, I did not want to make a shirt with a picture of me on it, but this cool artist, Sam, made it. And I said, do you like it? He was like, whatever you want, Bubba. And I was like, okay. So I made these shirts like the one Izzy's wearing, and I only made a limited amount of them. I didn't make very many of them, and they just sold like crazy. And it's very cool. You know, I'm very hands-on. I've been offered, you know, do you want to be in Urban Outfitters? Do you want to be here? I'm like, no, not really. So the fact that these shirt company, the cathousehollywood.com does as well as it does, you know, is very nice. I mean, I have 2 offices that are a couple miles from here. That's all they do is Cathouse shirts. You know, I mean, it's kind of cool, you know, and sometimes when Abby's not working there, I'm there folding shirts, which I don't like to do, but I'm like, this person in Spain just bought a Cathouse shirt, you know? I mean, that to me is something that I am very, very proud of. I'm very proud of the legacy of something that we created, because, you know, I'd always had aspirations of what Riki Rachtman might be in his 50s, but I never thought that I'd be selling more Cathouse shirts now than I did in the 80s or 90s. So that's really cool.
Well, I don't think there's a better way to fucking wrap it up on. I think that was
a
plug, but an inspirational plug and a great story about you and Tammy. And ironically, Faster's current manager agrees with you about they should be opening for different kinds of bands. So
I'm Faster's current manager. I'm Faster's.
Are you?
Manager. Yeah.
Are you?
Starting at Tammy, and I've been helping Tammy out with stuff for months, and then at M3 we made it official. So I'm officially managing Faster. And one of my things for the past 2 years has been, you're touring with the wrong bands. I mean, it's just, and look, that doesn't say never do it, but it's saying you could do it, but make it special when you do it, and make it special when you do something else, because you're so much more than just basically playing the whiskey every New Year's Eve. And
Faster Pussycat. I mean, that's the thing. And I say that about Faster Pussycat, and I'll say that about LA Guns as well. Both those bands.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're good. You know, I mean, if I talk about the 4 Cathouse bands, where I'll say the Faster Pussycat and the Junkyards and the LA Guns, and the other fourth is always interchangeable. I mean, those are good bands. You know, those are good bands that I would love to see Faster Pussycat play with some newer bands, because to me, I don't listen to them and hear, you know, I hate to say this word because I never say the word hair metal, but
I'm with you. Yeah.
I don't hear that with them. I think he's a great lyricist.
Yeah.
I think the band is just cool. And I like it. But I do want to say one plug is, if you do have the opportunity to go to Nashville, to go to ROCKNPOD Saturday and see us, please do so. And please remember that Friday we're going to be at Rare Hair, and they're doing some really talented musicians. And then I'm going to be up there, and I'm going to be up there playing bass and singing. And then I'm doing a duet with the lovely Leah Vendetta, which I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like, I don't know what to say, because I don't know how it's going to go. And I think that it's probably one of those all-star jams that everybody's going to be saying, like, dude, I thought you were going to play something from Tesla. And I was like, sorry, you know. And
I did that last time. But anyways, Ricky, the bottom line is you're just going to be worried about topping the best kept secret in Hollywood, the mega host, Izzy Presley, hosting Rare Hair and introducing you the proper way. So we will see you on Friday night. I get to town on Thursday.
So do I.
Cool. We'll hook up. Paul Gargano. Happy 50th, my friend.
Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hopefully Rika's still not mad at me.
Nah, we're all good. Rika,
right.
I woke up, the dog came into the house wearing this morning into the bedroom.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
that is amazing.
She had, when I got out of bed, the whole living room was made up in 50th stuff. So we're gonna go hang out with Mike.
Like you wanted to be reminded, right? Like you wanted to, like, please remind me that I'm turning 50.
Please. You know what? It's everything's amazing. I mean, it's awesome. It's really interesting. Like, this just Metal Edge related. When I left Metal Edge, I got the letter telling me that I was being granted my wish, because the new owner, I hated the new owner and he hated me. And I was trying to get fired while still doing my job, because I wanted the severance package, because I was there for so long. And he finally fired me on my birthday, 16 years ago. On my birthday, he fired me. Today, the final sale of the magazine. I've owned the magazine with somebody for the past 7 or 8 years. Today, final sale of the magazine went through. I thought it was so amazing that I got fired from the magazine on my birthday 16 years ago. In between, I bought the magazine with somebody, and now literally a new owner. We're going to be relaunching. It's going to be really, really good, and there will be details soon. But all the paperwork, I signed off today. It was August 3rd again, which is pretty amazing. Pretty weird timing. Weird timing of everything.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So,
I never tried to get fired for a job, but I always did.
It was one of those things that, like, if I didn't do my job well, he could just fire me for not doing my job well. As long as I did my job well and I was difficult to work with, he would have to give me a severance package. There's always strategy.
There you go. Hey,
but
look.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have some good news we can talk about in the next week or so.
And look at this is the amazing part of tonight's show. 2 people who are long-winded, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. We got out of here in 1 hour and 5 minutes. Congratulations, Riki Rachtman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Had a good time. Had a very good time.
Paul Gargano.
I love the fact that I'm long-winded and I barely ever get a word in.
Yeah, I know. But when you do,
I'm like, oh my God.
All right, here we go. All right, we'll see everybody next week, and we'll see you in Nashville this weekend. And I am doing stand-up on Sunday night with Craig Gass and Don Jameson and the boys from Talisman and Conan Dold. Will you see you then? My name is Izzy Presley. This has been Metal Edge Magazine's Another Effing Podcast. See you next week. I say good day.